Hi, this is Christine Via, Creative Memories Advisor, and I'm here filming my first YouTube video. You asked, you shall receive. So there was a request on my Facebook page for a field hockey, and I originally read it as floor hockey, and I went, oh yeah, we got something we can use for that. And we don't. We don't have field hockey. So I did have a vision in my mind of doing a field on this layout. And so some of the components I'm going to be using is the large circle from the custom cutting system and the green and blue blades. And I chose, this was a limited edition color. It's either Terra Green or Gamma Green, one of the two. I had to do a little research about it, and solar yellow for the bowl. And I also used a little bit of platinum because I went to my Cricut to create the sticks that I wanted for the embellishment on the page. And then I'm using some of the On Your Mark from the School Days collection of sports. There was a pennant that was green and white. I'm kind of sticking to a green theme. And so what I'm going to do, this is white for cutting the lines out. This is a piece of paper from the School Days Textures, I think it's called. And it's got sports on one side, you know, they're swimming on this side. And we're going to use this as a bit of a guide at the top of the page. And we're going to create the shooting circle. It's called a shooting circle. And we're going to use the custom cutting system to create that 1/4 inch wide marking. And we're going to cut this down. So first thing we're going to do, everything is going to get placed on bright white cardstock. And let's cut this page. We're also going to make a net, and we're going to use the fish net to create the net. And to make it large enough, we're going to cut 2 of them and layer them together. So I want this to be 10 inches long. So we're going to cut 2 inches off. And we'll use the straight blade on the 12-inch trimmer. This happens to be the new version of it, that it goes to 6.5 inches. I don't know what it is about scrapbooking, but sometimes having just that 6.5 inches on there without having to open the arm, I keep asking myself, am I really that lazy? So yeah, apparently. And so this is 10 inches, and I think I want to go 8 inches. So I'm going to take 4 off. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to keep it at 9 inches and take 3 off. And that way we'll have 1.5 inch borders on the top and the bottom. All right, so this is where we're going to start. The idea of this is we're going to highlight what would be a team photo or an individual photo. You could do both on here, but I think if you're doing the team photo, the individual photo, you could do 5x7 or a 4x6. So we've got that cut, and we are going to trim this piece. The bottom of the net on field hockey has a black barrier, and since we're going to do the illusion of the net along this top edge, we're going to do a 1/4 inch black border, maybe 1/2 inch. And I can always tuck it under a little if I like. And so I'm also going to cut one for the bottom to frame that out. So let's cut this at 1/2 inch. It's always tricky when you get down this thin. That's not even, but we'll fix that when we do the placement. Now, I don't know how familiar all of you are with the cutting guides on here, but there is a way to, if you have to do really precision cutting, There's a little white arrow there with a line, a groove down the middle, and it lines up with the cutting dotted line. So even when your dotted line disappears, like mine has on the one I just switched it from, you're able to line up and be more exact. There's also guides on both ends that look like this with a black line, and it rolls right along the cutting line. So I really love this feature because every once in a while I do need to be more precise in how I want to cut something. There we go. And for those of you who do millimeters, they have that on here. An interesting thing, I grew up with inches and feet, but I have found that it's a lot easier to cut using the millimeters sometimes. So occasionally when I do handouts, I'll have both options on there. All right, so let's see. We are done with this for right now. And we are going to cut. Now, there's different white paper. We have Stardust White, which is a little off-white, Bright White, which is a thicker cardstock, and then we have white cardstock, which is a little softer yellow. And when I compared, I wanted to use that with this. So we are going to, this is a technique I've used on other pattern pieces, like when I did the butterflies. And we are going to cut on the outside. And when you're using the cutting system, you always cut with the blue blade first because it cuts farthest away and you're able to hold down your paper. Green is in between, and then there is also red, and that cuts the closest. So if you're going to cut all three blades, you always do that in that order: blue, green, and red. So first we're going to use the blue. Let's see here. Sometimes these little feet give me a run for my money. And keeping that in place, I'm going to do the green. And I'm thinking this might be a little thinner than I want it. Let's see. We're going to cut it a little bit shorter, but I don't know. I think that's okay. I think that's going to be okay. All right. You could do blue and red, and that would give you a wider look, just like this. We're done with the regular white for right now. And let's start placement. One of the nice things about working on the 13-inch grid is you can see your markings on the outer edge, and you can also then use the placement ruler, which we are going to use on this because, let's see here, I'm going to do it from the bottom. We want to be 1.5 inches, which I can do without this ruler, but I want to make it level. There we go. So we're going to use some tape runner. You really don't need a lot. I tend to go through a lot of adhesive, and yikes. If you only saw my, I charge myself for my own supplies. So we're going to go 1 inch in from each edge. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to go right to the edge. And we want to make sure we're there. All right. Step 1. So now I think that I am going to put the bottom one in. The top one I want to do the net first before we do that. So for those of you who haven't used the new jumbo tape runners, they are back in stock. And as time has gone on, I have had more and more of my regulars at my crops switch over. And I originally thought it was like 3 times the regular tape runner, but that is not the case. It is actually 4.4 times as much adhesive, and that makes it a super duper good deal. All right, here. Want to make sure this is where I want it to be. And this is where the zero centering and alignment ruler can come in handy, because this does not go all the way across here. I have, and you can use it in repositionable or regular. I want that down, and you can see how we're going to put this right there. So imperfections are not as big a deal. So I know that that's where I want this, so I am going to go ahead and adhere it. So the big ones hold 150 feet, and the small ones are 34 feet. And that makes these more economical.